guess we weren't ready. All right. Good morning. It is Tuesday, November 19th at 9 a.m. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, on this wonderful rainy morning, we have a pretty robust agenda. First item on there would be to approve the minutes from 11:4. There's a couple, one on 11:5 and one on 11:12. We can approve them collectively or individually. I'll stand for modifications. Is there any motion otherwise to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Shane,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Holland. Is that for the entire group or individually?
Entire group.
All right, likewise. All right. No other comments? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, minutes approved unanimous. Today's agenda, does anyone have anything to add to today's agenda? Administration, is there anything?
Mr. Chair, nothing from administration.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. Today's consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove anything from today's consent agenda for further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve today's consent agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. All right, down to our first timed agenda item. We're actually ahead by a couple of seconds, but Alicia's going to make her way up here from Soil and Water.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm Alicia O'Hara, Water Resource Specialist from the Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm here to present on our Mississippi River St. Cloud Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan. For the past 2 years, I've been working with our state and local partners to write up this plan, and I do also want to thank Commissioner Diedrich for serving on the policy committee for that group. The plan is now complete as a draft. Yay! And we will be having a public hearing for that draft on November 5th, 11 a.m. at the Sherburne History Center. And what I would need from the board today is a authorization to the policy committee to then authorize to send the draft to the Board of Water and Soil Resources so that they can review and approve the plan. Once that's complete, we will have access to funding. It is about $1 million total for the entire group over for the biennium, and we'll then have access to that, and we can start implementation next summer. So. If you want, I have a draft motion if that's helpful, but it's basically what I said. It's authorize the Mississippi River St. Cloud Watershed Policy Committee representatives to authorize the Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan for final submission to the Board of Water and Soil Resources.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say thank you to Soil and Water, but all of the entities that came together. I think they've learned from all the other watersheds, particularly our North Fork Crow River, as the initial one of the first watersheds established. And so moving forward, there's just been such good input, everyone involved, and I think this is a good plan and ready to go to that next step. So thanks for all your hard work.
It's funny you think back because I think I was in some of the same rooms as you. Was it probably 5, 6 years ago when the conversation just first started when going into these plans, these one watersheds, and it's nice to see that it actually came through and now there's actually money in there because I think for a while there the discussion was, well, this is the plan, but there isn't any there was no incentive to do it because there was no money allocated to them. So,
That'd be frustrating.
yes. So. A lot of hard work. Appreciate your time, Commissioner Dietrich, in that, and moving forward. All right. We have a motion, second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our 9:10, a few minutes early. County Attorney Lutz making his way to the podium here. Request for the signature for introducing or the swearing in or approving of the new county attorney.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity to introduce the newest attorney who's joined my office. Yesterday was his first day, Kyle Day. Kyle lives in Otsego with his wife and 4 children. He graduated from the University of Minnesota, did a career outside of law for a bit, and then went back to law school. He graduated law school 2015. He has the honor of being the last class of William Mitchell before they combined William Mitchell and Hamlin. He's had kind of a diverse career. He was a public defender out of Scott County, and he was with a private law firm, and most recently did about 3 years with the St. Cloud City Attorney's Office. So he's going to join my civil division, initially going to focus on a CHIPS caseload, but may diversify into kind of a utility player in the civil division. So happy to have Kyle join our office. I think he's going to do great things for us, and just wanted to introduce him and present the certificate of appointment, which I provided to Mr. Kreiser.
Well, welcome, Kyle. It looks like you bring a wealth of knowledge to our organization. You'll be a great asset to the county and the citizens of Wright County. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Live in Wright County, have for the last 4 years. Looking forward to making a positive impact on my community, which I'm looking forward to. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, we always hear the civil side has more fun than the criminal side up there, so.
I guess we'll find out. won't we?
Mr. Chair, don't let that secret out, please.
Yeah, you have a nice drive-in compared to St. Cloud.
Yeah, cut in half. That's definitely a benefit too.
Well, welcome. It's a
Great.
pleasure to have you at the county.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll look for a motion to approve the signatures of myself and the county administrator Kreiser on this appointment.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimous. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. And still running a few minutes ahead, but not too bad. We'll bring Jamie up here. Request to schedule a public hearing for ordinance number 24-8, regulating the retail sale of cannabis and low-potency hemp edibles within Wright County. This is one that we need to take action on prior to January 1. They have a requesting of December 3rd, but looking to see thoughts.
Yep, I think you stated everything. As you know, Public Health has been working extensively with County Attorney and Administration to get this ordinance a public hearing.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this action is just to schedule the public hearing so we can publish notice of that. Notice does need to be mailed, or I guess published this Friday. So I have a deadline of noon to get it to the paper.
So December 3rd at 1 o'clock, if that works for everybody, would be our suggested time.
Or do we want to do it right after the professional shots?
Which one?
The professional shots that same day?
Just
On the,
move it up in the morning.
Yeah, just move it up.
we can do it at, you want to do it at, was that 11:30 then?
Would that work?
That would work.
Yeah, we can go with, are we, sorry, I'm just looking, December 3rd.
We do, and the 17th? Okay,
I would say,
the 10th.
At workshop.
I've got already a meeting set up here with Monticello School Districts at 12 o'clock on the 3rd. So,
Well, later is fine if you,
I mean, 1 o'clock's fine. Otherwise, if you want to keep it at 1 that day, otherwise, if you want to move to a different day, but that day, unfortunately, I've booked this one out quite far. I wouldn't want to move it
yeah,
again.
1 o'clock works.
Okay.
All right. All right. Then with that, I'll entertain a motion to set the public hearing for the ordinance 24-8, regulating the retail sale of cannabis and low-potency hemp edibles in Wright County for December 3rd at 1 p.m. here in this room.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimous.
See
Thank you.
December 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And now Chad is somewhere in this room. He's requesting the Minnesota Department of Transportation Cooperative Construction Agreement with a lot of numbers, 1057600, and adopt corresponding resolution.
Yes. Morning, Commissioners. This is just the agreement for the signal replacement and pedestrian improvements in Montrose at 12 and 12. MnDOT has a project next year in Howard Lake, Waverly, and Montrose doing pedestrian improvements, and this is our share of that construction cost. Pretty straightforward.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
So is this two separate motions? One would be the approve the agreement, and then the second would be to approve the resolution.
Yeah, resolution, yeah.
So this is a motion to approve the agreement.
Okay.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland, second by Commissioner Catchmark. All right, any discussion?
It's a really good project. It's good to see those improvements and adding in not just the pavement, but with the pedestrian crossings, how vital and more safety you can have in the community. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimous. Now we need to adopt the resolution corresponding with the said agreement.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Catchmark. Any discussion? Hearing none. Resolution vote, Commissioner Catchmark?
Aye.
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 All right, resolution passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Larkin is hiding in this room somewhere.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
And good morning.
I am requesting the adoption of this resolution proclaiming tomorrow, November 20th, 2024, as National GIS Day in Wright County. I would like to read a small section of the resolution.
Please do.
Okay. Wright County recognizes that an understanding of geography and geospatial technology provides critical information to stakeholders and helps community leaders and government officials make data-driven decisions and is crucial to operating our infrastructure, sustaining our natural resources, and stimulating economic growth, thus benefiting the welfare of the general public throughout Wright County. I chose this passage because I think it speaks to a small part of the wide variety of work the GIS team does at Wright County. My hope for the future is that we continue to grow the services we provide to Wright County stakeholders and the general public.
Well, Larkin, I can speak well to say that you've taken on some great projects that have brought in a huge amount of value to this organization and other organizations outside of this building. So I give two thumbs up to yourself and your team and the things that you're doing. I'm hoping we can better educate through weeks like this on the need and the demand for people with these skills, because it's the wave of the future, and being able to quantify information in this manner is efficient and probably the best understandable way to quantify data.
Thank you. Do you mind if I just really quickly highlight on a project we just finished up?
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
So there's been an ongoing project in the GIS division since 2017. There's a statewide initiative called Next Generation 911. The state of Minnesota, as well as a handful of other states, are leading the charge and modernizing the way data is provided to dispatchers when making a call for service. So for context, the current technology being used was developed and implemented back in the 1970s. So I'm happy to say that Wright County has finished our validations with the state, and whenever the state is ready to go live with this initiative, we'll be ready for it. And one of the unrecognized benefits of this project is that Wright County will now be a part of a statewide aggregate of address and road data. So what this means is that the state will be sharing our address and road data with downstream applications like Google and Apple to ensure that our addresses and roads in Wright County will be updated in those applications in a more timely manner. So just wanted to highlight that we finished that last week. So
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mr. Chair, I just want to add, just proud of you and your team for all the hard work and the impact that you have on the county. Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, I want to say it's really fun to go to my city council meetings and share all the things that you've been doing, especially when it relates to the cannabis and the setbacks. They were so excited to have that tool. It's going to be very helpful for them. Plus, I also have to note that tomorrow they really geek out, and last year had the cutest little outfits on.
Which we will have again this year.
Does Elizabeth take part in that too then?
We did not get her a t-shirt. Maybe we can quickly order one.
Well, wonderful. I'll entertain a motion to adopt November 20th as National GIS Day in Wright County.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none. Resolution. Commissioner Shane.
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've already accomplished the entire timed agenda item. Moving on for items for consideration. First item would be to authorize staff into a license agreement with law enforcement agencies for the use of the Wright County Law Enforcement Training Facility. This is kind of going back to some previous meetings that we've had and working on developing this agreement so we can allow outside agencies to contract use for the facility.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Board, just real quick, a summary of this item. So the board has asked us to bring forward the opportunity for agencies outside of Wright County to use the Law Enforcement Training Center. So we've already adopted a fee schedule as part of the overall fee schedule through the county's process for that. So the next step here is to approve an agreement that we can use for engaging these agencies for use of that facility. So what we've done is we've taken the license agreement that we had that we used for counties that are for communities that are inside Wright County, and we already have executed a few of those and just modified it very slightly, simply to remove the cap of the number of times that it can be used, as well as to subject the users of this to the fee schedule. But other than that, the agreement before you is the same as what we had utilized for the communities within Wright County. So looking for adoption of this, and then following adoption of this, we'll work with the agencies that have an interest in using it to execute it and begin the use of it. So with that, looking for questions, otherwise that action today.
Mr. Chair? I just want to clarify that the scheduling of it as priority is our sheriff's department first, and they will be involved with what gets scheduled into the use of the facility, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and board members, that's correct. And the way the agreement is drafted is that the sheriff's office captain who's in charge of this facility will be instrumental in working with those agencies that want to use it to schedule it, to ensure that exactly that our sheriff's office has priority.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thanks, Clay, for bringing this forward. I had a question on number 10 on page 2. On the fiscal impact, on the first page, it talks about staff time, and I see the first line, it says may have a range safety officer present at firearms training. What's the plan on that being different from if they want to use the facility for just use of force or something like that?
I don't know if we've specified it to that level yet. I think it's going to be up to the discretion of the sheriff's office to determine if that's something where they need someone out there or not, which is why we have the language in there that they may have someone present. If they feel that there's a use that they need someone present for it, they certainly can, but they're not obligated to have someone there.
I talked to Chief about this. I'm in favor of having a staff member out there at a $9 million facility and have our people be the last to leave and not just say, shut the lights off when you're done and see you next time. So I'm kind of leaning more toward, unless someone says differently, to have a shell there. But I would hope for consideration in flexing the time, that if someone's using it in the evening, that it's not just like an overtime money grab to where at the end of the year, somebody says, oh, the fee schedule didn't come out too well because with overtime we actually lost money. I want that to be part of the consideration also. Any other board members have thoughts?
Yeah, Chairman Vetch, I agree. I don't want any overtime. When we rented our huge performance, the PAC Performance Activity Center, it was very expensive, but we still had somebody that, you know, would go in and make sure that things were running well, and that nobody would touch any, like, the equipment. That being said, it wasn't overtime. It was specifically paid for through community ed as that specific time frame. So, you know, I don't know how to go about this, but I think it would make sense if it's maybe just a person that can go in with that being a duty instead of overtime.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure how we're getting onto the overtime. I think that's something that the sheriff is in charge of the scheduling of the facility. And I don't know that we're in a place to say who should be getting overtime or not. If it's a position that needs to be there to lock the doors, I mean, I think that would be something that they can handle.
I think, I mean, I understand the points here of the board members is saying that, you know, we want to utilize it with other facilities, but we also don't want to do it at the demise, the fact that it's costing us more money than it is to operate. Based on the fee schedule, in almost all likelihood situations, even with overtime, you'd still be ahead on it. You wouldn't be netting as much with overtime on it, but yet you'd still be netting something. I mean, I guess I think it's, the sheriff, I would say, as well as the chief, would probably be in their best favor to try and do it without overtime, but there might be situations where that is impossible. I don't know, maybe it's something that, I guess it's at their piece to manage it, and I don't foresee it being a situation where either way we would lose money at it, so.
Mr. Chair, another line I was wondering about is, how did we come up with no firearms training allowed between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. With an indoor range, I don't see why that would matter to neighbors of anybody else. And it doesn't specify that I saw anyway, that you can't have use of force training or some other indoor training after 8. So I'm wondering why that was spelled out that way.
And Mr. Chair and Board, I think that was pertaining to the outdoor training. I don't know that we specified it in there, but just given that there are neighbors, we don't want to have that noise overnight like that. I don't think there's a strong preference from the administrative standpoint about the overnight use. I would defer to the sheriff's office for their opinion on that. It may be more challenging for them to find someone to monitor the facility during those time periods, but that'd be a question you need to ask them.
And Administrator Kreiser, those timeframes for the outdoor shooting is mostly in line with what we require of other entities that have outdoor shooting with those quiet periods. It's similar to it, I believe.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, it's been a while since I dealt with the Delano Sportsman's Club. I should know it after how many public hearings I sat through on it, but I want to say, and Barry's not in the room to help me here either right now, but I want to say it's maybe 9 o'clock is how late it goes, because they had a lot of school events down at the Delano Sportsman's Club.
But it's in the ballpark of why,
it's
that's
in
the
the
reason those
ballpark.
times are, it's in that ballpark of what we.
And there's also state regulations on those that I think give them a lot more leeway, whereas we can limit our own facility because it's not a public use. We can limit our own facility because we control it, but CUP dealing with it for a private club, they have different statutory protections that may be even broader.
Just throwing this out there, if you want to continue to limit its use, law enforcement is mandated by the post board to shoot in low light inclement weather conditions. And so by putting an 8 o'clock cap on there, that is probably going to take someone out that's looking for a place to get their fall or their low light qualification done. So we certainly don't abide by that. Law enforcement doesn't. So if you're looking to get it out there, we're mandated once a year to train in low light conditions. So
Mr.
8 o'clock cap in June probably isn't gonna work for them.
I'm wondering, that's why I'm wondering, Sheriff, is how did that time frame get in there, so you folks.
I
didn't-
haven't seen this.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Okay, so then at the very least, it should say indoor. There's no limits on indoors, no reason to. And a night shoot you could have at noon if you shut the lights off. In inclement weather, they used to put ice cubes in a cooler and you're supposed to mill your hands around. You remember that? And that counted as inclement weather.
Swear to God, that happened, and it didn't happen after I took over.
Because sometimes you schedule it and the weather's nice, but if you don't have a conflict, then now we do get calls about the 9:30, 10 at night shooting out there. I'll admit that the neighbors, and you can hear this from a long ways, but I think that time frame needs to be adjusted at the very least to say doesn't include the indoor range. There's just no reason to limit.
I think, like already discussed up here, more mays in this document would be great because we can effectively manage what's going on out there. I've told you all along, I'm concerned with the neighbors out there. I don't want to make a bunch of enemies out of our neighbors by renting out our facility for a little bit of revenue. We're going to effectively manage that. If we have a long-term leaser out there, after the first couple of times, they might know the ropes. Certainly, we're not going to let them lock up at night. We're going to have to do that stuff. But as far as overwatch on them, if their firearms instructors are out there, we'll determine how much of our involvement we need to have. We're going to make sure that we're taking care of our training center. So more mays instead of shells would be great, and we can truly, folks, effectively manage it.
Commissioner Catchmark, are you requesting that we just amend that to that agreement to say 8 to 8 on the indoor or outdoor range? Or
I would, Mr. Chair. I don't see a problem limiting the out-of-county for hire people to not be shooting at 9:30 at night. I think that's fair. We've got, they do what they do here, but I think we can put those parameters on, but not limit the indoor because that doesn't affect anybody.
I think that's fair.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Ketchmark, if you're looking to make that amendment, I think we could just simply add the word outdoor between no and firearms. So no outdoor firearms trainings shall occur between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Be a simple change there.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear anything else. I don't think there's consensus on the first issue you brought up, Commissioner Ketchmark, so I won't offer an amendment there unless I hear otherwise from the board.
Well, then again, my point there was that I think we should have a county employee, whoever that might be the last person to leave the facility on a training day by some other agency. That we're not turning over the keys and codes and saying, shut the lights off when you're done. And this says, all that I read through just says that they may have someone for firearms only. But I think in the interest of the Wright County facility, we wouldn't do that anywhere else.
Yeah, and I guess it's the nuances as to saying that, okay, a Wright County employee closing it up, or does the one have to be there the entire time? Because based on like what the sheriff is saying, there might be situations where there might be there for 4 hours, and maybe that person opens up, gets them going, and they come back for the last hour. I don't know. I'm just putting out there pieces to it, or do you want, I'm trying to get clarification, or do you want it to be just for the opening and closing, or do you want it to be a shell has to be there the entire time?
I think for a $9 million facility with all the ons and offs there, if something goes wrong, then the department is sitting there standing and waiting for someone to come, or saying this doesn't work, I guess we have to leave. I just think with a facility that offers that kind of training that we can justify having a person. Now, could it be facilities maintenance on up? It could be anybody, but I'm just saying it shouldn't be left unattended from county staff, and county staff should be the last to leave.
Would
Mr.
that
Chair.
have been considered in the fee schedule, though, that cost?
Well, that isn't spelled out that way.
Mr. Chair and board members, it does say in the fee schedule that if there is sheriff's office staff required, that is accounted for in the fee schedule. I think, I don't remember the rate, I want to say it was like $75 an hour that they would pay for that staff. But it is accounted for, I believe, in the fee schedule.
Well, Mr. Chair, in comparison, if some group wants to use this at night for something, does everybody from the county go home and say, shut the lights off, last one leave, and see you next time? How is this place dealt with? Because we have after-hours meetings. I've seen people at 6 o'clock coming and going here. What do we have, administration?
Mr. Chair, Member Ketchmark, At least for planning commission meetings, staff shuts down the building and make sure everyone's out of it on planning commission nights on Thursday. And to help move the discussion forward, Commissioner Ketchmark, I can offer a proposed motion to address both of your points if you'd like. It would be to amend paragraph 10 of the license agreement to state in the first two sentences, the Wright County Sheriff's Office shall have a range safety officer or other designee present when licensee uses the training center. And then the next sentence would be amended to add the word outdoor between no and firearms.
I think that's a fair, I want to mostly clarify that because I wanted to make sure that we weren't just trying to open and close. I think the request, it's an expensive building, there's expensive equipment in there. We can always modify if we find out that the fee schedule doesn't accomplish that down the road, we can always modify that. But I think this is a good starting point.
Thank you. I'll make a motion then to authorize that agreement with those couple of changes proposed by Administrator Kreiser.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Holland to authorize the license agreement with law enforcement agencies for the use of Wright County law enforcement training facilities with the mentioned amendments. Any other discussion?
One more thing, Commissioner Vetch. I wouldn't be opposed to changing that 8 PM to 9 PM, just knowing that there is some night shooting that needs to happen. And I think as long as it's done by 9, and we're strict on the 9, because you said 9:30, you've been hearing, getting people feedback.
I have, Mr. Chair, but I think I'm comfortable with tightening it up a little bit on the outside and not giving them the exact leeway that our in-house people have.
Okay.
I think we can use a break because we don't know how much interest there's going to be and how many are going to want to shoot that late. I think this is a good start. If we get feedback that says, hey, if you ran this till 9, we'd be interested. If not, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm content leaving it at 8.
Okay.
And your predecessor will probably thank you, because I think all of a sudden if there was a high demand on that and there was a lot of shooting till 9:30 at night, you might.
Successor.
Or not processor.
Yes.
Successor.
I'm conscious of the successor, Mr. Chair.
Yes, he might get a lot of phone calls.
Great.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. The license agreement for the law enforcement center is approved for outside agencies unanimously. Now, moving on to the second item for items for consideration would be to adopt a resolution for the hearing officer's findings regarding tobacco license appeal for the Casey's in Albertville. This is our second one here, or third one here in the last couple months.
Yes, it is. Mr. Chair, before you is the resolution to adopt the findings as presented by Hearing Officer Scott Anderson, dated November 13th, 2024 for the Casey's in Albertville. I believe the board has had sufficient time to review the findings and the legal conclusions presented by Mr. Anderson. Assuming everything in its order, I would ask that the board adopt the resolution. I would note I do need to make one amendment to the resolution, and that's to include a $2,000 civil penalty as well in the, let me see which paragraph it is. It's the second be it further resolved paragraph. We would add a $2,000 civil penalty. That was inadvertently omitted. We still had the 30-day suspension, but Mr. Anderson did also recommend a $2,000 administrative fine as well.
And
So
that's,
just adding that.
that's consistent with our ordinance.
That is consistent with our ordinance.
I appreciate Hearing Officer Anderson's thorough review of this case, and I believe he has come to a good findings here for adoption by the board, and I would support the approval of Hearing Officer Anderson's findings.
Agreed. I'll make a motion to approve.
And Commissioner Diedrich, is that with the amendment I stated for the
Yes,
$2,000?
with the amendment.
Thank you.
Correct. Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland to approve the findings by Hearing Officer Anderson regarding the tobacco violation appeal, and with the modification of the upholding the ordinance fine of $2,000 in conjunction with other findings. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chair, it's a resolution.
Oh, it's a resolution. Yeah, pardon me. I'll start off. Resolution aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimous. Thank you. And now moving on to the committee recommendations. First one be the Ways and Means recommendations. Sorry. So we have a couple recommendations here under the Ways and Means, which would be the handbook updates for the Commissioner Handbook, and the second would be the review and additional items for the consideration. So it'd be the review of the committee consensus. There was a few of them there that were modified maybe prematurely or not updated correctly from the committee's list. I think Minnesota Rural Caucus was removed on an error, and the second seat on the EDP needed to be updated. I know myself, I'm sitting down with Matthijs here in the next week to review, making sure that those are all up to date prior to our organizational meeting for these appointments in December. So,
Mr. Chair, and you cut me off at the pass a little bit because you got word on a couple of them. I got a couple more that aren't mentioned in here, and it's actually Minnesota rural counties that you called Minnesota
caucus.
something caucus. But, so they changed the rules to get us in there. I brought it up in the past, is this redundant coverage or not? They do share the same interests as far as drainage law in particular, as far as that registry and making extra hoops to do ditch work. They support not doing that, which is what we like. But if you're gonna take another look, then make sure that we're not duplicating efforts or lobbying and all that. But it didn't make the list, so it looked like some decision was made that, hey, it's not here. So I looked through the whole thing, and I got some I think was meant to be alphabetical, but the Ag Society Fair Board is not on there. I'm a non-voting member. Currently, I'm the one serving on there, but I wanted to share the experience as we go forward, and I was told by staff that this was the time and place to do it. So we're listed on the agenda, which is not given out until the meeting starts. And you all know how I like that. There's nothing to prepare for, ask questions or anything. You don't know till you get there. Then me as a non-voting member am listed as a guest. I think there's a difference there, but in their eyes, I'm a guest. Non-voting member, you know, how do you really define that? I didn't ask for much while I was down there, but what I did ask, and Mr. Chair, this was your idea, to send an extra 40,000 down there in ARP money. Remember last year? We had leftover, had to get reallocated, and you said, how about we send it to the fair? And we did. We sent them an extra 40,000. Don't look puzzled, just agree, because it was good.
it was a good. I'm trying to remember what it was for.
Yes,
but yeah.
it's a lot of stuff. But,
Yeah.
so I said, hey, I don't ask for much, but I'd like to be included in the discussion on spending this. And the next meeting came up, the minutes were there, and it wasn't in there. I had to say it twice, because it wasn't good enough to say it once. Never got contacted for this discussion on the $40,000. Our staff said recently, hey, are they gonna do anything with that? You gotta have some plan by the end of the year. So I brought it up to them. Well, before you know it, the host of invoices came up here to get reimbursed for the ARP money. That's relevant as we talk, because I think this could be one of those on the list that maybe has an asterisk, and maybe it's when needed, if requested kind of a thing, voluntary. Then I was told, well, they like to get your county updates too to know what's going on. Well, a lot of people would like that, but I go to my cities and townships maybe once a year, not once a month. And I'm just sharing that for the future, that's why we're talking about this list. Do with it as you wish for the next year, but I'll bring up a couple others that I think an asterisk could be next to, and I don't know that someone has to be assigned, but does anyone have any questions about that piece?
Makes sense.
Commissioner Catchmark, I would support that. We've done that on a number of ones. Last year, we had an appointment, was it maybe 2 years ago, in the Clearwater River Watershed District, which once again, we weren't a voting member on. And we would go there to sit in the audience as a guest. And I was like, when we're appointing somebody, when we didn't even have a forum to even, that one, we didn't even have a comment period. It was like kind of okay, I'm not quite sure why there was an appointed seat on there when you're not an active member of it. When it's an open public meeting, we could attend at any time. So this is, to me, kind of one of those same situations. We don't really have to have an appointment to it if we're not we're an interested party based on the fact that we allocate funds to them, but attending their regular meetings, when we don't have any active participation on it, I don't necessarily know that makes sense.
That'll be a decision for the next board, I guess, that first meeting, but that's why we're here to talk about it. There's another one, the local EMS meeting and the fire chiefs, says one commissioner. I've gone to a lot of them. Seldom, if ever, anything really county commissioner related. One thing I can think of is when there was a little bit of interest in having a training center for them at the compost facility, but that died on the vine. There was lack of interest on their part. But again, I'm there, I give updates, and then I'm gone. It could be an as requested, if requested. There's other heavy county staff presence at this meeting. So that's for consideration, however you want to take that into next year. Highway 12 Coalition is more relevant, and that didn't make the list. State Highway 55 made the list, but not US Highway 12 did not make the list. So I think that should be there. That's important. That runs right through District 5. Typically, that would be the commissioner there. But noticeably absent, there's, I think, 7 of the 8 townships touch Highway 12. They never show up. I've tried to get them to go, but they don't. I mean, a lot of the residents cross or drive on Highway 12 regularly. So that should be added to the list. I think active presence there would be good. MRC we talked about. I think the rest are adequately and accurately noted here. So that's all I had on that piece. Are people looking to get language related at this time to get added to the list, or do you want to do that at a future meeting? or-
I would-
Language to the,
Yes.
sorry, language to what?
Oh, you got the list and the appointees on here. I just brought up commentary on things that aren't on the list and things.
If you
that
can,
are-
because what I'm going to be doing here, like I said, in the next week or two prior to our organizational meeting, working with Matthijs to update this. If you or any other board members that have questions about appointments that you're on or ones that should have appointments to it, if you could send them to me or Matthijs, so when we have that is most up to date, whether it's a description of what the committee is or where they're at, or whether it is one that maybe should be changed from an appointment to an as requested, or needs to have an appointment to it where it previously did not. So if you can quantify those up either to myself or Matthijs, so we can get ready for that meeting in December.
Perfect. Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I would like to speak to the Ways and Means Committee recommendation here regarding, it was under agenda number 3, review and discuss how minutes are documented, with the recommendation that the committee's consensus was to accept changes applying to committee minutes to include only attendees and actions, which would be a recommendation. I honestly was shocked to read that the Ways and Means proposal would be to eliminate the minutes and only print the recommendations. I will argue against this till I'm blue in the face. In all my years on public and community boards, I've never participated in meetings that did not keep summaries of the minutes, at least at the minimum, otherwise verbatim. The Ways and Means Committee recommendation goes against our county board's strategic objective to provide continued transparency and empower community engagement in order to keep our citizens informed and build trusting relationships within the county. Summarized minutes would allow the nuances from the discussion to be heard. This helps understand what was discussed and how decisions were made. Including only the recommendations from meetings eliminates the dissenting voices, which have every right to be heard. Summarized minutes also provide rebuttal evidence for accuracy and accountability to people in our county. Per state statute, this also keeps from misrepresenting the truth of what was discussed during the public meetings. Therefore, to be consistent with our county mission, vision, and values, I would like to make a motion to approve the Ways and Means recommendations with the addition of summarized minutes to be included with the recommendations and a record of the attendees for public record as a whole. Those 3 items at a minimum.
So I think there were some information that was maybe missed in that piece, but there is coming out of this that the board members would get a memo of information as to the topics that were discussed and how the consensus was built for the recommendation in that committee. And we can quantify
Chair,
that in
but
language.
Mr. Chair, if you look at the minutes coming out of the Ways and Means and the personnel, it's just the agenda item and a recommendation. There's no minutes included in those already. So I'm saying
And-
we've always had those comments and haven't been verbatim. So I agree, but that allowed the summary of the discussion to be heard.
And we don't need to make this more contentious than it is, because to me, it's a simple understanding, missing of a couple of informational language, which we can absolutely.
Mr. Chair, point of order, if we got a motion, don't we need a second?
Oh, yes,
and then
thank
the-
you, thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich to approve the ways, well, okay, let me see. here.
Approve the
So
recommendations, but also to include a summary of the discussion in the minutes. 4 minutes. There's no minutes anymore. Basically, if you read this as is, it's no more minutes. It's just the recommendation. And I want a documentation of what was discussed so that people can understand how we made these decisions. That's been a normal practice, I don't know, for a
So we have a,
decades.
sure, okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich. Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Catchmark. So we have a second by Commissioner Catchmark. So the piece here at point is stating that we have had minutes to some degree. They're summary minutes, which
Summary
is what we're
minutes,
asking. We're
yes.
not looking for verbatim. The intent was to still be able to, whether you call it minutes or you want to call it a memo of information that will be provided, because we are not going to just give you this document here and not articulating how they got to it.
Correct.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out, what you're
want it
requesting is you wanted
documented.
it documented, saying that there'll be a summary of information. That you want, there'll be a,
Like we always have had, Derek.
yes.
This isn't something new. It looks like it's being eliminated if you just read that in plain text that
Yes.
was proposed for us and given to us in our packet. So I'm just saying, I'd like to quantify it and document that I would like a summary of the minutes to be included.
I
Please.
think that's a fair request. I mean, I think your ramble on there kind of made it seem like it was
I'm not
like we're trying
rambling,
to
I'm making a statement.
Mr. Chair, maybe I could just add the staff perspective on this as to how we got to where we are here today. This came out of the Association of Minnesota Counties. This is one of their best practice initiatives that they're putting forward. It was presented at the County Administrators Conference and presented by Julie Ring as a method of moving forward. Staff has looked at different various minutes across different boards. I've spoken with Bruce Messel, the administrator for Sherburne County, and he indicated to me their minutes simply reflect the motion and vote. That's all that they state in their minutes, because they believe that the verbatim record is on YouTube, it's online. If you want to see what happened, the verbatim record is online. I didn't want to go that far in making a recommendation for the full board, because I believe we still need minutes here at the board, but we were looking at incrementally instituting this best practice as recommended by AMC, at least at the committee level, and seeing how it works at least for a little while, and we can always change it back.
I
Mr.
disagree.
Chair.
I disagree. We need to be as transparent as possible. Government entities only consist because we tax taxpayers, and they should know exactly what we're doing in our discussions and how we make decisions.
Mr. Chair. Yes. Thank you. Well, I looked at the meeting minutes and what led up to this, and it was like a piece of Swiss cheese, of course. There was just nothing there. It looks like that idea got test fired before it got approved, because the version of the minutes from your Ways and Means doesn't include who said anything about anything, and it kind of put the cart before the horse. It got test fired here, and there's really nothing to tell me now. Administrator Kreiser chimed in that AMC thinks it's the best practice, and someone else thought it was a good idea, and we're bringing up verbatim, which we've never done. But I'm going to use this example. For about 2 years, I've been asking for, when is the next personnel committee meeting? Can I see the agenda? I've been told finally, after many discussions apparently on third floor, yes, you can see it. Still not seeing it, not seeing an agenda. Now you want to present just some recommendations out of that unknown meeting agenda and meeting date and time. And then we can't see who said what. It almost looks like somebody's afraid of who might see them, who said what. And if that's the case, that there's a fear from that side of the room or this side of the room, then we have a different problem. That's kind of what it suggests, that somebody doesn't think they can speak freely. So with my experience on just that personnel deal, that it seems like then if we try and recreate that committee up here for the people that weren't present, because there's only 2 commissioners that are at these offshoot meetings, then we're going to have board members speaking for people that aren't here, that aren't going to come up and speak what they had to say. I'm not in favor for those reasons. From my experience with personnel, that there's been shade cast on that. I'm not given the information, and I'm not given the same opportunity, even less now, because I can't see who said what. Now, I know the chair can give some discretion where some of this could be redundant, because I might ask a question that was already discussed and asked and answered, right? But I'm not going to know that because it's not in writing. Could make for longer discussions, could be more contentious, like Mr. Chair wants to avoid. I'm not connecting the dots here to go with this. I wasn't there. It's not in writing. Who said what? So I'm not on board with it right now.
And what I'm proposing on this is that there is about another, I'm not going to call it minutes. I'm going to call it a memo of information that recaps the information that was presented and the points of interest, so that there is some information that goes with the recommendation. I mean, when I say, I mean, either that or you can call it summary minutes. I'm not going to say verbatim minutes, because we haven't done that, and we're not going to begin that practice.
Nobody's asking that.
No.
Commissioner Benton, so looking at the Ways and Means Committee, that I feel like has a lot of information. What more would we want to have in there? Because then it gets to be so onerous that, and in the past, when I've asked for, hey, can you find the minutes that said this, back 10 years ago, nobody could bring out any information. I feel like this is more streamlining, like, hey, here it was discussed, so then we know that it's been touched by the commissioners, and then it'll be broadened out to the commissioners, because of course we can't talk all together until we're in this big room. But it does say the high points of this, so that at least in a word search, we can say, okay, they talked about this, and at least we knew what was talked about then. So, and then from a broader sense, the chair is then going to bring out and talk with the commissioners that weren't there if they have any questions. Am I getting that right?
Mr. Chair, can I speak to that? There's no discussion points in there. Those are just the items that you discussed. That's just the agenda.
And Mr. Chair, that what you're bringing up now is kind of after the fact to say there's going to be a mystery memo coming later. That's not part of this either.
That's where we're saying we could quantify that in there. Do you want to quantify that? And I think I think we're going roundabout to the same thing. I think if you want to quantify whether you want to say that there will be a summary minutes or a memo of information along with the recommendations.
That's my motion. That's my motion. That's what I had said.
So summary, so more so than this?
Yes.
More summary than this?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, are you talking about something that would only be released to commissioners in this memo?
Public
Because
meetings.
what I'm hearing is a public minutes summary is what Commissioner Diedrich wants, but you're talking about a memo that would just go out to commissioners. Is that right?
What I would be proposing is, well, you can do it one of two ways, because what I'm trying to stop doing is asking 3 people to vote on minutes that they weren't even, that one of the person, may potentially 2 people, or sometimes 3 weren't even at that meeting. So to me, it's awkward to approve minutes when you don't even know whether any of the information was factual or not factual. So I'm saying, okay, let's change it to a memo of information that would be sent to the commissioners after this committee meeting, letting them know that here's what the information that was presented and here's what their recommendations, and that would be included as part of the agenda packet, but it wouldn't be minutes that are approved because, as you know, if you weren't part of a personnel committee, approving minutes that you weren't part of is awkward, I would say, because you don't know whether that is factual or not
But
factual.
Mr. Chair, all of these things that come before us, we have to trust that they're putting the information out that is truthful and honest and transparent and has been discussed. This is not something new. I would like the summary minutes or memo, whatever you want to call it, included in the document that gets presented to the board as
And I'm
part of the
saying
minutes.
that, I'm just saying we just wouldn't be
Not,
approving them
not
as minutes.
separate, not separate to someone to set it. It
And-
would be included with what is put forward to the board.
And that was what I just said, that it would
Okay,
be
it
included
sounded
with
like
the
it would be
recommendations.
different.
I'm just saying that it wouldn't be approved as, you wouldn't be approving the minutes. But
wouldn't
as
be
far as the
minutes.
recommendations, so right above here, you would have the memo of information with the recommendations below it as part of the agenda. But you wouldn't be, in the front side of the agenda, as you see here, you have to approve the committee of the Ways and Means Committee minutes, which
There's
you
no
weren't-
minutes in it. That's just an agenda with a recommendation. There's no
Exactly, but
minutes
it's-
at all.
it's-
There's nothing.
it's a futile exercise that I'm trying to
Well,
get
no,
rid of.
that is, we've never had that before. We've always had a summary included with it. So this test drive, as Commissioner Ketchmark is saying, was already put forward.
Mr. Chair, can I
and-
call the question?
Yes, question is called.
Mr. Chair, I would like to finish what I'm speaking.
The question is called. So at this time, we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich to approve I got to make sure I restate this right, is to modify the recommendation for committee,
That's what they're called. They're called minutes.
called minutes, but, so to approve minutes as part of the recommendations for the said committees within the Commissioner Handbook. You know, a second by Commissioner Catchmark. And with no discussion, questions called, all in favor say aye.
Aye?
Mr. Chair, I'm not clear on if you're interjecting your part, or is this
This is,
remaining?
I am reading her
Oh.
motion is to introduce minutes as part of the recommendation, with minutes with the recommendations for noted committees within the Commissioner Handbook.
Which you call a memo or whatever. However, documentation of the discussion, however, what you want to call it, is in with the rest of the
So it's-
minutes. These are called minutes that come before us from these committees.
So point of clarification, minutes are approved, memo of information would not be, and that's where my proposal is slightly different than that of
No,
Commissioner
I would
Dietrich's.
want something included. That's what I said. I want more information included. However, whatever you want to call it.
I think if I'm clear, she wants to leave it the old way, and you want to present like a sidebar memo that's not part of the packet for review or for public consumption.
No, it is part of the packet. It is
Okay.
included. It's just not in the front end of the agenda. As you see here, where we approved minutes from the Ways and Means, I want to get rid of that and just move it to inside here as a paragraph above this, and then the recommendations, because I don't want you or any of these commissioners to be voting on minutes that they weren't part of.
Okay, then that explains that. So that's a modification, though, from Commissioner Diedrich's request, if I'm following, right?
I'm not sure if this is clear right now.
Well, you need to be clear with the motion, I
So we have
think.
two options. So we
did,
have
I
the
did.
motion, we have a second, and at this point, they're looking to move forward with adding minutes to the recommendations to the committees in the handbook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Aye. Motion fails 3-2. At this point, we have two
Unbelievable.
options. I would recommend somebody would make a motion on my part to add a memo of information to include it in with the recommendations for committees in the handbook. Otherwise, we can move this to a workshop for a more robust discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and do the best practices for AMC recommendation so that there's still a member of understanding to what came forth of the committee so that we do know all the information and is brought forward at that time.
All right, motion by Commissioner Shane,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland. All
Mr.
right.
Chair.
Yes.
That is just rewording what I actually had made a motion to include. Whatever you want to call it, a memorandum of memo of it or a summary, it is as long as we're moving forward with putting more information in our minutes that get approved, I'm fine.
All right, so any other discussion?
Well, just a question. So you talked about the best management practice. That's to do.
That's not the best,
that-
that's not
That's
it.
just to put down names and recommendation. But you said that, but then you said also to include the extra memo, right?
Yes, and that is so what came, Mr. Chair, sorry. That's so that we understand what came out of the committee hearing. And you also have to remember that some of this, what you were referring to, was personnel.
But it applies to all meetings.
So I said,
Commissioner Vetch, the discussions that we're gonna have, minus personnel, because we can't have any of those discussions as the big room, in the big room. All of these discussions will be put forth in a workshop so that we will have transparency, or a board meeting. Am I correct at that?
That wouldn't necessarily always be the case. These Ways and Means recommendations were not ones that came forward within a workshop. Sometimes they do, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Depends on the timeliness of it, with us having workshops once a month. But the committee members are always welcome to refer any items that they have within it to, if they think it's contentious, to a workshop or to a committee of the whole, which has happened historically. But a lot of these ones are not necessarily controversial ones, and we try to make sure that these recommendations are, if they are controversial ones, that they would go to a venue of that sort. But
Mr. Chair, if I could just add to Commissioner Holland's statement, anything that comes out of committee or workshop has to come before the board for approval.
Yes.
Everything does have to come into this room for approval. Those committees are not a final decision-making body.
And that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
There will be transparency because it will be listed, and we can have a discussion at the big table or in the workshop.
And in situations
what
like
we're
this, they
doing
could
right
always
now.
refer these back to a committee of the whole. If board members that were in the Ways and Means did not like the recommendation that came out of it, if there was 3 board members or more that would want to refer it out to a committee of the whole to discuss it in a more thorough fashion, they absolutely can. That is always at their liberty.
So, Mr. Chair, just to clarify and make sure this is the correct motion, it's including a memo that summarizes what was discussed, the attendees, and the recommendation. That's what we're moving forward with, correct?
I'm looking for the motion maker for clarification and the second.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know what that means.
That means with these recommendations, there would also be a paragraph up here that would state what was presented and who was in attendance and
This
key points of interest in how they came to that recommendation.
Okay.
But there would not be minutes. It wouldn't be approved as it is right now on the agenda. It's just, here's some information.
Yes, I'll go with that.
You'll go with that? And you're good with that? All right, so we have clarification on the motion.
One more question. Just to clarify that this is applying to what committees, this recommendation?
Internal committees, there's only
All,
two.
right, just those two?
Personnel, Ways, and
Or,
Means.
so nothing else will change? There'll be no other?
Mr. Chair, staff is reading that as all committees listed in the handbook.
Yeah, all committees in the handbook, which,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, all committees
All
of the board.
committees in the handbook.
Committees of
Okay.
the board.
Thank you.
Advisory committees, we don't approve their minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Committees.
Okay, just for clarification, thank you so much.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimous. All right, now we are moving on to the, sorry, let me grab my committee. We have the Personnel Committee. So the Personnel Committee has a number of recommendations here. Largely, the Personnel Committee modifications were ones that are bringing our handbook up to date with state policy. So there wasn't a lot of discussion on it. A lot of it is just our handbook being fluid and needing to adopt changing environments based on practices within the state and the state statute, and making sure that we are in compliance.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what you see before you in these policy changes is a direct result of, I'm probably going to cut the pages short, but the 1,600-page omnibus bill that was passed on the last 5 minutes of the last legislative session. So trying to incorporate all the paid sick changes, all the earned safe and sick time changes, trying to get everything in line with what the state has mandated that we do by January 1st.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimous. And lastly, we have the workshop from November 12th. Number of different items on there. We had the information from our quarterly investment, which was informational only. We had the Minnesota Intercounties Association membership, the consensus to move forward with preparing a financial package for membership for MICA, the discussion on the federal lobbyists and the recommendation on that. We had the FBI request for extension, which was rescheduled. And we had the CMRP update, which was informational only, which we really didn't get a chance to get into, which we'll do at a later date. And the Fair Board clarification of their audit. And with that, I'll stand for a motion to approve the workshop recommendations.
So moved.
Right, motion by Commissioner Shane,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Catchmark. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a comment regarding Micah. While I agree that I think it's really going to be a good fit, honestly, moving forward. I just want to, with our processes, the item came up after preliminary budget was set. We know sometimes that's going to happen throughout the year, but if we were thinking about this or looking at it in the past, I just wish it would have come up during budget season, so that would have been included. That's my only comment.
So with that, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, workshop minutes approved unanimously, or not minutes, recommendations approved unanimously. Minutes, since it was, that's a buzzword in my head right now. All right, it is 10:06, and with no other items to attend to on today's agenda, we will adjourn at 10:06.